Hey, this is Alex. The gym smells like stale popcorn and excitement. Kids dart around the rows of folding tables, each one displaying a science project held together with glue, ambition, and a prayer. I'm crouched by a volcano made of papier-mâché, trying to coax the lava to bubble up without destroying the tablecloth. The kid next to me watches with wide eyes, her hands clutching the edge of her experiment board. "Try more vinegar," a voice says. I glance up. She's holding a plastic bottle, wearing a soft smile and a badge that reads Maya, children's librarian. There's a playful warmth in her expression, like she belongs in this whirlwind of children and chaos. "More vinegar," I echo, half smiling. "Scientific method or personal experience?" "Both," she says, crouching to meet my eye level. The hem of her skirt brushes the floor, and she tilts her head. "Trust me, I've made more volcanoes than I care to admit." She hands me the bottle, and we pour. The vinegar hisses into the baking soda, and the volcano erupts in a foamy cascade. The kid lets out a squeal of delight, jumping in place. "That," I say, standing, "is an expert's touch." "And modesty," she quips, her grin deepening. We spend the next hour bouncing between booths, talking science experiments and swapping stories about kids we've worked with. Her enthusiasm matches mine, and it's magnetic. By the time the fair wraps up, I've somehow invited her for coffee without even realizing it. 2 days later, we're at a tiny cafe that smells like cinnamon and roasting beans. She's laughing at a story about one of my students accidentally setting a lab coat on fire, and I'm struck by how easy it is to talk to her. We trade favorite hiking trails, guilty pleasure TV shows, and opinions on the best snacks for road trips. It's like we've been filling in pieces of a puzzle neither of us realized was incomplete. By the time the coffee cups are empty, I'm already planning the next time I'll see her. Maya slides into my world like she's always belonged there. My friends love her. It takes her half an hour at game night to win them over, cracking jokes and sinking impossible shots and darts. By the end of the night, they're teasing me about how I've finally brought someone awesome around. My mom's a harder sell, or so I think. But when I introduce them, Mom pulls me aside and whispers, "Don't mess this up, Alex." She's the one. No pressure. 2 months blur past. Quiet evenings with Maya turn into weekend hikes and volunteering at the animal shelter. She laughs at my terrible puns and makes me playlists for long drives. We're a team in the way that matters, both of us wanting a life that's simple, grounded, and meaningful. One Sunday, while we're walking shelter dogs, Maya stops mid-stride. "I can't believe how lucky I got," she says, her voice light but steady. I glance over. "Lucky? You. This." She gestures at the trail, the dogs, and then at me. "It's good. It's more than good, I want to say. It's the kind of good that sticks in your ribs and stays with you." But instead, I squeeze her hand and smile, letting the moment settle between us. Maya sits cross-legged on my couch, sorting through a pile of craft supplies spread across the coffee table. "Okay," she says, holding up a glue stick like a prize, "you'll handle gluing the rocket parts, and I'll do the glitter." "Glitter is banned in my classroom," I say, grabbing the glue stick. "It's the herpes of the craft world." She snorts. "Relax, it's for the library kids. Your lab is safe." We're prepping decorations for her upcoming space-themed story hour. Somehow, what started as a quick favor has turned into an entire Saturday afternoon of cutting, gluing, and dodging my cat, whose decided ribbons are his mortal enemy. Maya's tongue pokes out as she concentrates, her scissors snipping through a sheet of silver foil. "Do you think your students would help out at a library event?" she asks. I pause mid-glue. "You mean my students who once tried to microwave a spoon?" Her laugh fills the room, light and easy. "Fair. But maybe they'd surprise you." That's the thing about her, she has this way of seeing the best in people, even when I wouldn't. By month 3, it feels like Maya's been part of my life forever. My sister's kids adore her, especially after she brings over a bag of hand puppets and invents a game called Dragon Dentist. watching her pretend to clean the teeth of a sock puppet while my niece giggles uncontrollably is one of those moments that lodges itself in my brain. "You're good at this," I tell her later as we're loading plates into the dishwasher. "At what?" "Being with kids. Making them laugh. Making people feel comfortable." She shrugs, a soft smile playing on her lips. "I like them. Kids don't overcomplicate things. Adults could learn from that." I'm not sure if she means me, but I let it slide. We start to fall into routines, weeknights at her place or mine, weekend mornings hiking trails before the world wakes up. She makes banana pancakes that could convert anyone to early mornings, and I teach her the fine art of brewing French press coffee. One Sunday, we're stretched out on the couch, her head resting on my shoulder while an old documentary drones on in the background. "Do you ever think about the future?" she asks, her voice soft but curious. "Sure," I say. "Like, retirement?" She laughs, tilting her head to meet my eyes. "I meant us. Where this is going." I shift slightly, buying a second to think. "I like where it's going." "Me too," she says, her fingers lacing through mine. "I'm not in a rush or anything. But it's nice to think about possibilities." Her words settle in my chest, not heavy but steady. It's been years since I've let myself think beyond the immediate moment in a relationship, but with Maya, the idea doesn't scare me. The first time we really work together as a team is during one of my school's science nights. Maya volunteers to help me set up, and it's a logistical nightmare: equipment shortages, last-minute cancellations, and a leaky aquarium, but she dives in without hesitation. "Where do you need me?" she asks, rolling up her sleeves. "Anywhere that's not here," I mutter, balancing a beaker in one hand and a clipboard in the other. She winks and disappears into the chaos, reappearing half an hour later with 3 parents, a box of extension cords, and a tray of cookies she somehow charmed from the cafeteria staff. By the end of the night, the event runs smoother than I could have hoped, and my students leave buzzing about how cool it was. "You're kind of amazing," I tell her as we're packing up. "Kind of," she teases, nudging me with her shoulder. I grin. "Don't get cocky." By the time we start talking about moving in together, it feels less like a big decision and more like the next natural step. "You practically live here anyway," I say one night as we're folding laundry. She's holding one of my shirts, her thumb tracing the edge of the fabric. "You don't think it's too soon?" I shake my head. "It doesn't feel soon. It feels right." She nods, a small, thoughtful smile on her lips. "Okay. Let's do it." And just like that, we're planning how to merge bookshelves and decide whose couch stays. It's easy, the way things are with her. For the first time in a long time, life doesn't feel like a series of hurdles to clear. With Maya, it's a rhythm, steady, reliable, and surprisingly sweet. It's a quiet night. The kind of night where the world feels soft and wrapped in warm blankets. We're sitting on the couch, the glow of the TV flickering across the room, and Maya's scrolling through her phone. The dog's curled up at her feet, tail flicking lazily as she taps through her social media feed. I'm halfway into a documentary about endangered species when she taps me on the shoulder. "Hey," she says, holding her phone out toward me. I glance over. It's a video, some kind of adoption story, the kind where the kid looks up at the camera with wide eyes as they meet their new parents. There's a warmth to it, a quiet happiness that radiates out of the screen. "Look at this," Maya says, her voice low, thoughtful. "Isn't it sweet?" I nod. "Yeah, it's great. Happy ending and everything." She exhales softly, but there's something off about her. A shift that I can't put my finger on. She scrolls down a little, finding something else, and then pauses. "So," she starts, voice casual, "accidents happen, right?" My stomach tightens, a flicker of confusion creeping in. "What do you mean?" "Like, birth control failing. You know? Things happen, sometimes." I freeze. The words are light, but they land like rocks in my chest. Maya's still looking at her phone, unaware of the shift happening between us. I try to laugh it off. Well, yeah. But you'd hope that doesn't happen, right? She shrugs, glancing at me for a second before her attention shifts back to her phone. Yeah, but you can't control everything. Her words drift into the air, and the knot in my gut tightens. It's subtle, the way she says it, like it's no big deal, like she's talking about a flat tire or an unexpected rainstorm. But I'm not hearing it that way. A million thoughts hit me at once, but they all land in the same place. She's talking about having kids. The idea of her having kids. And me. Us. I swallow hard, trying to keep my voice steady. Maya, are we talking about? She cuts me off, not impatiently, but with a slight dismissiveness, as if she didn't think it was a big deal. It's not like it's going to happen. I'm just saying, you never know, right? I nod slowly, but my mind is already racing. I try to convince myself it's nothing. That it's just a flippant comment, a weird joke. But I can't shake it. I've known Maya for months now, and we've talked about our future. About how we both want a life that's quieter, simpler, without kids. We've agreed on it. So why does it feel like everything's starting to shift? Maya keeps scrolling, her fingers swiping across the screen, completely oblivious to the storm building in my head. I try to focus on the documentary again, but my mind's a mess. The images on the screen blur into the background. The low hum of the TV fills the space, but it's not enough to drown out the pounding in my ears. Alex? Maya's voice cuts through the haze. I blink, meeting her eyes. She looks concerned now, brow furrowed. Are you okay? I nod, though it feels like a lie. Yeah, I'm fine. Her gaze lingers, studying me, and I wonder if she's catching on to the tension that's been creeping in between us. Are you sure? She presses, her tone gentle. You've been quiet all night. I open my mouth, ready to brush it off, but instead, the words stumble out before I can stop them. Are we on the same page about kids, Maya? She blinks, and for a moment, there's a flicker of confusion in her eyes. Of course, she says, her voice light. We've talked about this. You don't want kids, and I'm fine with that. I nod again, though my mind still isn't settled. Right. But I'm not sure anymore. The conversation shifts back to something trivial, but I can't focus. Every word she says feels like a weight on my chest. And no matter how many times I tell myself I'm overreacting, I can't shake the feeling that something's changed. As the night wears on, the unease doesn't fade. It lingers, like a shadow in the corner of the room, following us as we talk, as we sit side by side. And for the first time since we started dating, I'm not sure where we stand. The unease doesn't leave. It wraps around me like a tight band, each little thing she says, every casual glance, feeding it, tightening it, until it's all I can focus on. I keep telling myself it's nothing. That I'm overthinking it. But the more I try to ignore it, the louder the doubts get. Maya's been great, she's always been great. But now, every time we talk about the future, every time we plan something, I can't shake the nagging thought that we're not as aligned as I thought. It's subtle at first, these changes. She starts asking more about my sister's kids, how they're doing, how they're growing. At first, it seems innocent. She's just being nice, right? Maya loves kids. She's a librarian, after all. But the questions come more often now. How's Emma adjusting to the new school? She'll ask, her voice light, like she's genuinely curious. She's fine, I'll answer, but there's a heaviness that comes with it now. Like the weight of every word is too much to carry. I try to shrug it off. I tell myself I'm reading into things. But it doesn't stop. One evening, we're watching TV at my place, nothing special, just a quiet night, like 1,000 others. Maya leans against me, her head on my shoulder, and I'm tense. I want to relax. I want to enjoy this moment. But instead, I'm stuck in my head, running through every conversation we've had in the last few days, looking for clues, for signs that maybe she's changed her mind. I shift, uncomfortable. The dog is curled at my feet, and Maya's playing with her phone. "Hey, what's up?" she asks, glancing over. "Nothing," I say quickly. "Just tired, I guess." She gives me a long look, but I can't meet her eyes. A few minutes later, she says, "Do you ever think about kids? I mean, not for us or anything, but just, in general. Like, what it's like to have them." I freeze, the words sinking into me like cold water. "What do you mean?" She shrugs, eyes still on her screen. "I don't know. I guess I've just been thinking about it lately. About family. What it looks like, you know." My heart starts to race, but I keep my voice steady. "And what does it look like to you?" She glances up, her eyes soft. "I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it seems nice. You know? Watching a kid grow up. Being there for them. I feel like the ground is shifting beneath me, but I don't know how to stop it." "Maya, we talked about this." She hesitates. "I know. But, maybe we should keep an open mind." The words hit me harder than I expect. I can't breathe for a second, the air thick and heavy. This wasn't how I thought this conversation would go. I want to scream, to say, "You said you didn't want kids. We agreed." But instead, I nod, trying to keep my calm. "Right. We'll see." The rest of the evening passes in a blur. We finish the movie, go to bed, and I don't sleep. I lie there, listening to the rhythm of her breathing, and I can't escape the thought that maybe, just maybe, I've misread everything. I start avoiding her. It's small at first, little excuses to stay at work late or to go for a walk instead of spending time with her. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. Every time we talk about the future now, I can't shake the feeling that we're not on the same page. One weekend, I plan a trip for myself. I tell her I need space to clear my head. "Just a few days to think," I say. She doesn't argue, doesn't press. She just nods, but I see the flicker of disappointment in her eyes. It's like I'm pulling away, piece by piece, and she can't do anything to stop it. I don't want to hurt her. But I don't know how to fix this. The doubts keep growing, and every time I look at her, I'm reminded of how different we are. Not in everything, but in the things that matter most. And the worst part? I'm scared. Scared that maybe I'm making a huge mistake, but too terrified to admit it. I don't know if I'm overreacting. I don't know if I can live with this tension, this constant second-guessing. One night, she asks, "Are you okay? You've been distant." I nod. "I'm fine. Just work, you know?" But it's not work. It's me. It's the fear that we're drifting apart. It's the anxiety that maybe, just maybe, we've reached the end of the road, and I don't know how to turn it around. 2 weeks pass. 2 weeks of sleepless nights, of awkward silences, of avoiding her eyes when we're alone. I've tried to push through it, to pretend everything's fine, but the truth keeps eating away at me. Every day, it becomes clearer, I can't ignore this. I can't pretend it doesn't matter. I stand at the edge of the decision now, and it feels like the hardest thing I've ever done. But there's no way around it. The doubts, the fear, they've grown too loud to ignore. I've thought about this moment 100 times, rehearsed the words, played out every possible reaction. But nothing prepares me for what's about to happen. I take a deep breath as I sit across from her at the kitchen table. She's stirring her coffee, her eyes flicking up at me, a question in them, like she knows. Maybe she does. Maybe she's been waiting for me to say it. "Maya," I begin, my voice rougher than I expect, "I think we need to talk." She pauses, her spoon hovering above her cup. "Okay," she says softly, setting the spoon down and folding her hands in front of her. "What's going on?" I exhale, trying to steady myself. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. And I don't think this is working." Her eyes narrow, like she's trying to make sense of what I've said. "What do you mean?" "I thought we were good. We've been good." I shake my head, the words coming faster now, too fast. We're not on the same page anymore. I can't ignore that. We've talked about kids, and you've changed, or maybe I've changed, I don't know. But I'm not where I thought I was. And I don't think you are, either. Maya doesn't say anything for a long moment. Her hands are still on the table, fingers pressed together tightly. I can see her processing it, trying to figure out where things went wrong. I thought you wanted the same thing, she says finally, her voice quiet but firm. I thought we were building something together. I did, Maya. I really did. But I can't keep pretending that I'm okay with something I'm not. I can't keep forcing myself into a future that doesn't feel right. She takes a long breath, a mix of sadness and frustration crossing her face. So, that's it, she asks. You're just done? I nod, my throat tight. Yeah. I am. There's a long pause. I want to say more, to explain everything in a way that makes it easier, but there's no easy way to explain it. No way to make this less painful. Maya stands up slowly, her eyes never leaving mine. She looks at me for a long moment, as if she's trying to read the truth in my face. Finally, she sighs and nods, as if something inside her has clicked into place. I get it. I do. I didn't see it coming. I'm sorry, I say, the words feeling too small for the weight of what's happening. I didn't want to hurt you. I know you didn't, she replies, voice shaking a little. But I think maybe I've been ignoring the signs, too. I stand up, the decision made, but it still feels like a punch to the gut. I turn away, not because I'm angry, but because it's easier to keep the distance between us now. I can't look at her and stay strong at the same time. As I walk to the door, I hear her call my name. Alex, she says, her voice softer now. I don't hate you. I don't. I don't think I can keep doing this. I pause, turning back to her. Me neither, I say quietly, and then I leave.